Earlier this year, Google set off a firestorm in networking circles by saying it would start to test a direct deployment of so-called fiber-to-the-home services. In effect, Google would become a service provider like Verizon and AT&T and many others. Well, to get a reality check on this, we've arranged for a tour of what is probably one of America's largest fiber plants, the Fios deployment here in New York City. All right, now to get a sense of the complexities of actually installing fiber service, Verizon has been very kind to lend us a map of their central office structure. They divide the city into 66 separate areas, each with a centralized location that provides service. That's the stars here on the map. Now what has to happen is you have to go from one of these stars out to each actual end user. Look at this. This is a lot map of the street of New York. Each one of these buildings needs its own separate access point, and each one of the inhabitants, each one of the apartments, each one of the houses needs its own individual service. Now, Verizon's fiber ambitions start exactly here. We're in the lower Manhattan central office. Now, check this out. This is where every piece of fiber comes in and is terminated. Literally, this is each line that runs to each and every apartment. Once it's in this rack, then Verizon provides service. This is the voice and data component of the product. They peer to the internet. That's actually how they access the backbone of the web. This provides access to about tens of thousands of individuals here. And follow me. Television service, their high-end Fios TV, comes from there. And this has to be replicated in 66 central offices across the city. Imagine what you'd have to do to provide service like this across the country. It is a daunting task indeed. The next step in fiber's journey to your home is here. It's either underground or up on a telephone pole, depending on where you are. We're here in New York, so most of it's underground. Here to the user. Here we're at 89 Murray Street, and that has to be wired for this particular building. Fibers that ran under the street from the central office. This is literally what comes in from Verizon CO. Travels up, routed around in this case, but that's just what it is. And this is to the central, this is a fiber distribution hub. This breaks out the centralized kind of fiber bundle out into individual lines that can be managed and fed to each individual end user. That has to be repeated for every building, for every user across the country. I mean, that is a big job. All right, now finally, here we go. We are at the last step in fiber's journey to the home. This is on the 15th floor in a nearby apartment building. Here we are. Here's our fiber optic cable. Remember that from the central office, ran under the street, ran through the basement. It's got to be run everywhere. It is then terminated to these voice, video, and data devices that provide service. And again, this has got to go into every single end user's home in order to have fiber optic access. It is a major job. All right, so you see the issues involved. In order for Google to be a legitimate provider, they're going to have to provide service to every single end customer. At best, Google's attempts to offer fiber is going to be in limited markets. They simply do not have the reach or the expertise to become a significant service provider, and unless they decide to buy a phone company, that's the way it's going to stay. Jonathan Bloom, CNN Money in Lower Manhattan.